Hey guys, so I kind of got tired of Bohemia Interactive keeping this project shut down. It's been 2 years, so if you haven't read by the title, this is the call extension functionality in DayZ. I went ahead and I rebuilt the entire thing from the ground up. Shrunk the library down. Overall, I simplified a lot of things, and I added plugin functionality, which we'll get to. Um, but the general idea is this: if you want to do advanced functionality in your DayZ mod or server, for example, say you want to do something with sockets, right? You don't have that option. All you have are web requests. Say you want to interact directly with an external database. You can't really do that. You have to go through a web API, which is easy enough. I mean, you have to build a web API, so people can do it. But what if you just want to use tools that have already been built, right? Like EXTDB or INIDB. These things, these plugins that everyone in Arma 3 uses all the time and that they're confident with. You know what do DayZ devs do? They can't do anything. They just don't have that option. So this mod is, I guess you could call it, brings call extension back. It implements call extension in the same way that Arma 3 call extension is done. And in doing so, all those extensions that work for Arma 3, you can port into DayZ. This is one of the first mods I did doing DayZ modding back 2 years ago when modding first came out. And I really wanted to go far with it because back then you couldn't do web requests, and that was the first thing I built was web requests. And I got shut down by Bohemia. Well, I'm honestly, if Bohemia wants to shut me down again, they can try. I'm not gonna go post this on Steam Workshops, and I'm not using it for anything. It's just code. So, but diving into it, what you essentially get with this mod is you get a DLL here called BI Debug Engine that you're gonna place in the root of your server, and you're gonna get two mods. Well, one mod really, called Ad Infinity. This I would have on Workshop, but it would get pulled off of Workshop because of Bohemia Interactive. So this isn't on Workshop. You're going to have to compile this yourself or include it yourself. This is all you need in your mod, is this interface. Specifically just these proto-natives, but I added this nice little wrapper here. So what this does is it takes a library, a function, and some arguments, and just recreates. So call extension RV is RVExtension, right? It's a standard call extension that you get from Arma 3. Call extension RVArgs is call extension args from Arma 3. Get version, same thing. Call extension has a version system. So, and then there's another one called call extension DZ that I added a while ago. I just kept it. But the idea is here, you use extension, and you can use call extension RV to replicate call extensions that you would have done in Arma 3. And that's all you need. And so what this does is it adds these new proto-natives. These get added into the game. And so it's really cool. I want to show you it starting a server. So server starts right away, and we get this new console. So this is part of the debug. So there's a new launch parameter added called RVDBG. If you add that, you get this console, and it gives you a bunch of cool debug information. If you don't have it, the console doesn't go, and it's like there's nothing there. But just from reading this, you can see we're looking for two different patterns. We see there's a thing in here called hooking it. So we're hooking something, we're registering some functions, and we're even registering a plugin function. Plugins, that's another feature. So there's this new folder in DayZ server you can add called plugins, and in here you can drop libraries. And with these you can register your own custom functions for the server. So say you wanted to put together a really complex server and you want to do a whole lot of operations. Call extension is just, it's becoming a hassle, right? You constantly got to format data to go pass it to call extension. It just doesn't work great. What you can do, and what could be easier, is just register your own functions and make your own plugin. So let's dive into how this was done. So for starting off, I needed to know, okay, how are functions, how are they done? How are functions added to the game? And doing that, hopping into Binary Ninja, we can see there's this register global function where we can find a whole bunch of enforce script functions like fprint, fgets, find file, print. I based a lot of mine on print. And in here we can see there's this gets called for all of them. We get this argument that gets called for all of them, some unique function, and then a flag. So in this case, this is our print function. So how can we make use of this? Well, the idea is we just call register global function with this argument whenever the game starts, and it should register our function. How do we do that? Well, by hooking init modules, we can register our function right when this is called, and we know for a fact it'll be that the engine's ready for us to register. So diving into the code real quick, I found two patterns, one for this init module function here in Binary Ninja, and one for this register global function. And so we're going to find those patterns. Once we find them and we get those addresses, we just define the type defs and functions. And here we're just using min hook to apply a hook onto the init modules. And so this here is our init modules hook. So we take in first argument here, arg1, and we pass that on to the register function, which is done here, right? With flag 0, along with our function that we want to add. And that's really it. That, when put into the BIDebug library, that will load or register our functions, our proto-natives, to call these methods, right? So if we go into like call extension RV. So this here is my implementation of how call extension is done. And you can see it's loading the library. It's gonna call get proc address for RVExtension, and then it'll go ahead and get that result and return it. And there's a character cap. As well, plugins. This is new for this rebuild. So I added this plugin system. And so what this does is it adds this function here, register function, which allows this third-party library to call and register a new function. And so how that works, if we head on over to here, you create a library, you add this plugins.h header file, you link to the BI debug engine lib file, and you export on plugin load. And that's it. So with that, you call register function, that'll call that function from BI debug engine, and you'll register whatever function you want. That's all you have to do. On plugin load is called by the debug engine whenever it's time to register functions. So you don't have to worry about that at all. So yeah, that's really about it. I guess I'm going to be going more in depth about kind of describing more of the technical details here on my website. I don't know how long till I get that article out, but it'll be out eventually. This is all available on GitLab. The link is going to be in the description. And yeah, if you want to play around with it, be my guest. One last thing, for the example plugin, I provided a mod to go with it that also defines its own interface for its own function. And yeah, I didn't show you the code for the HTTP GET extension, but that's quite simple. It's just a recreation of what you would do for Arma 3. So yeah, that's it. Have fun, guys. Bohemia, please don't cease and desist me. Thank you.